This tutorial will give you some hints about taking notes during the research process. The first suggestion would be to set up a folder within your Office 365 or Google Docs account. That way you can collect all of your information in one place. If you are in Office 365, you just click on New, click on Folder. If you're in Google Docs, pretty similar, New and then Folder. So I have already set up a folder and I've collected a couple of different articles that I think might apply to my topic. The next step might feel a little bit tedious, but it's going to be really important that you're well informed as you are writing your research paper. So it's important for you to read carefully each of the documents that you have collected. So for that reason, we're going to go ahead and do a careful annotation of each of the documents for the first read that we do. So when you are annotating your document, you're going to take a look at some key vocabulary, define things that you think are important, or especially things that you don't know the answer to or don't understand what they are. Make sure you're underlining key ideas. You might use those later. Put a plus or a minus at the end of each paragraph just to indicate your understanding. If there are paragraphs that you don't understand or pieces of paragraphs, make sure you go and explore those a little bit more carefully so that you know what you're talking about. You can record questions or reactions you have to the material, draw arrows connecting ideas, or number any sequence of events. So here is an example of an annotated article. This is one that I pulled from Issues in ABC Clio, and it has some interesting information that I think I might use in my research. And so a couple of things that you can note here. This first definition is actually a definition of an organization. So this is the Council for Responsible Genetics. I think this is pretty important for me to know what this is all about, so I've highlighted their definition. I've put some pluses and minuses in here for information that I understand. And there are a couple of terms in here that I think are probably pretty important. I have a pretty good idea what those are and what they mean, but it's helpful to sometimes get a more specific definition. There's also a list here of positives of genetic engineering, and so I want to organize those for myself, and so I put them in a comment box here just so I can remind myself these are some things that people expect genetic engineering to, how it should affect us positively. And then there are some principles that guide CRG, so I want to highlight those, and then I'll continue on in this fashion. So I want to make sure that I'm reading carefully and really understanding whatever is happening in this article. So I'm going to do that with all of my articles that I've collected. If I start to read through an article and I realize pretty quickly this isn't an article that applies to my topic, that's okay. I can ditch that one and just focus on the ones that have the most relevant information. The next step then is to go back and take a look at your articles and think a little bit about how they are going to be incorporated into your outline and eventually into your paper. So the second time I read, I'm going to be reading for a different purpose. I'm going to be looking for specific bits of information that will help support my thesis statement. Hopefully at this point I have a rough idea of what I want my thesis statement to say, and so I will be thinking about what I need to do to support that. And so I've started to read this article. This is a different article from Science in Context, and there are some pretty interesting facts in here. And I have decided that I'm going to use highlighted colors to help distinguish the different topic areas, subtopic areas for my paper, and that will eventually help guide me when I create my outline. You can do this a number of ways. You could use numbers, you can use, you can print and do highlighting colors. Just choose a system that is effective for you and makes sense. For me, this seems to work. So everything that's green is going to be related to a specific subtopic. Everything that's purple, that's a separate subtopic, and so on. So that helps me organize when I go to fill in my outline. And you might find that you have a really good idea about what your subtopics are, but you get into your documents and realize, gosh, I don't have anything on one of those subtopics, and I just can't find the support that I thought I was going to be able to find. this is a great time for you to start shifting what you think you're going to write about to what you're really going to write about. So don't be afraid to do that. The next step too then is to decide, do I want to include this as a quote? Do I want to paraphrase it? Or do I want to summarize a larger piece? And this is a good time to start thinking about that. If it's a really well-phrased quote, you think it's something that you want to include all of or at least part of a sentence or a paragraph, then you can do that in your outline, and you can consider just putting it in quotes and citing it that way. If you want to paraphrase it, and there are some general ideas that you want to put into your own words, you can also do that, and you'll just put those words in your own way and put your citation in. Or if there's a larger piece that you want to summarize and just highlight some key points, again, you can do that and put your citation at the end for that too. So this is the end of our tutorial for note-taking. Thank you.